Hi, folks. You ever notice Democrats treat reality like it's optional? They'll ban plastic straws to save the planet. They'll fly private to a climate summit like Captain Planet's evil twin. They'll melt down over memes, then call for people to be assassinated. They're a cultural clash so fragile they treat jokes as hate crimes, but street riots as community engagement. These same people who say walls don't work are suddenly building them around their own egos, apparently, and the irony just simply writes itself. That's why today we're diving straight into the carnival of contradictions, from Hakeem Jeffries throwing a sombrero-sized tantrum to Georgia politics turning into what can only be described a surreal stand-up routine. Let's get right to it.
My first job out of college was at the Center for Civil and Human Rights, where I got to learn how to organize with incredible legends like the late John Lewis. Now I have the honor of representing tens of thousands of Georgians in the State House. I'm as Georgia as we come. I'm also the granddaughter of Palestinian refugees. My family lost everything and had to rebuild from nothing. My family's history and the skills taught to me by civil rights heroes made me never back down from a fight.
She's about as Georgian as a peach with a suicide vest. Needless to say, folks, we've gone through this before. America is being softly invaded, and it's never been more obvious. These folks don't have a commitment to our American principles. They want to come here and install their own. Islam and the U.S. Constitution are just purely incompatible, and they never will be unless they overthrow our country and rewrite the entire system to fit Sharia law. And let's be honest, before that ever happens, there will likely be a very massive civil war, because no red-blooded Christian American is going to sit back and allow a nation founded on Christian principles devolve into a Muslim dystopia. And the propaganda around it is just hilarious. I mean, they work overtime to make her look relatable. They've got this woman in a full-blown hijab picking up a bale of hay and tossing it around like suddenly that makes her as Georgia as they come. That's ironically where they drop the line. I'm as Georgia as they come. And she does that. It's like she's trying to audition for the weirdest Cracker Barrel commercial in history. I mean, why do they have this lady doing this? Seriously. Is this where we are in the identity politics timeline? Is this end stage identity politics, just dressing up in a literal costume so you can sell yourself with some level of borrowed authenticity, while the real agenda is clear as day? It's not about serving you, folks, and we learned this with the Ilhan Omars of the world. It's about enriching yourself. It's about gaining access to the office and pledging loyalty to a foreign government. It's about importing this level of grievance politics that is ultimately aimed at undermining all the things that make America great, and that made it a place where she could come here and build a life that's far more prosperous than what she would have right now in Palestine. It is just insane to me that people would be attracted to the allure of the American dream and come here and actively initiate fighting against it. It's just mind-boggling. Not as mind-boggling, though, as Representative Laura Friedman's bizarre attempt at using her brain and just clearly malfunctioning to the befuddlement of the man who's, I guess, conducting the interview here.
So, to be honest, I'm just against bombing children.
Well, sure. I don't want any of the civilians to be bombed.
I agree.
And I think it's awful that Israel's in this position. Yeah. Golda Meir, who was a former prime minister of Israel, during some of this similar attacks, yeah, she had a quote, and I don't have it memorized, but it's something along the lines of, "We can forgive you for killing our children. We can't forgive you for making us kill your children." Which I think shows a lot of the Jewish feelings and mentality about this.
Do these people even hear themselves when they talk, or do they just assume the audience will nod along no matter how twisted the logic is? Because what Representative Laura Friedman just tried to frame as profound was one of the most unintelligent and ironically self-congratulatory things I think most people have heard in a long time. Just think about it, folks. She quoted saying, "We can forgive you for killing our children, but we can't forgive you for making us kill your children." Now, look, the first half almost sounds noble. You could argue it reflects a Christian virtue of radical forgiveness, the kind of moral high ground that would be nearly impossible for most people to embody. It's truly hard to forgive somebody for killing your child. But the moment you hear the second half of what Friedman is saying, it unravels completely. That supposed mercy suddenly looks performative, because the real grievance isn't that their own kids were murdered. It's that they were forced to murder someone else's. That flip is what makes the whole thing so bizarre. It's a rhetorical sleight of hand that turns forgiveness into resentment and victimhood into a complete moral brag. And here's a deeper problem. This kind of framing lets leaders signal virtue while excusing brutality, weaponizing grace as a prop while masking a vindictive pride underneath. It's not clarity. It's not coherence. It's a disgusting moral inversion masquerading as virtue. No wonder the host looks stunned immediately, because a subtext exposes something darker. A politician desperately trying to straddle both sides of an issue, pretending to hold the moral high ground while refusing to acknowledge the true brutality of war, and in the process endorsing some of the most vile sentiments about the intentions of murder, without a single ounce of self-awareness, by the way, about what she's actually saying in the moment. It's mind-blowing, but not as mind-blowing as how stern Bernie is about letting the government shut down.
So are you telling me you're willing to vote no every time Leader Thin
Damn
brings
right.
this
I
up?
am not going to allow. Let me be clear.
What?
All right, you can quote me on this. You can quote me on this. We say in Vermont, till the cows come home. I will not let tens of thousands of fellow Americans die because they're thrown off of healthcare. In my state,
Nobody's gonna
people
die.
cannot afford a doubling in the healthcare premiums. We are already paying the highest prices in the country for healthcare. People just can't afford it.
Let's get one thing straight, folks. Bernie is a big pharma shill. He loves to pound the table about not letting tens of thousands of Americans die. But the truth is, he's one of the biggest recipients of big pharma money in the history of the Senate. And I know the counter argument is going to be people jumping in saying, well, technically he only received small donations. That's the trick, folks. This is how the game is played. They spread out smaller contributions across different politicians, so no single check looks like corruption. But when you add it all up, Bernie's taken more from Big Pharma than most senators in modern history. That's not an accident. That's influence. And this is why he's so committed to programs like Medicaid, still serving illegals. Not out of some pure crusade for the poor, but because the pharmaceutical companies stand to cash in. They get paid every time government expands coverage, whether it's for citizens or illegal aliens. Politicians like Bernie want you to think they're fighting the system when in reality they're the system. The same system that drives costs through the roof while funneling billions back to corporations they claim to oppose. This isn't virtue, folks. It's a racket dressed up as compassion with a communist hairline. Anyway, AOC isn't too far behind. She is also having a full-blown meltdown over the shutdown that is purely Democrat-induced.
Let me ask you this. There are some people I have seen who have the following theory of why Senate Democrats have not cut a deal where they give 8 votes and move along. And that is that Chuck Schumer is worried about a primary challenge from you and is worried about the politics to his left flank. And so because of that worry about a primary challenge, he's going to shut down the government. Ergo, it is AOC's fault that the government's shutting down, or that you're somehow the kind of fulcrum of this. And I want to just ask you straight up, are you planning to primary challenge him? Do you think that's why he's doing this?
This is so not about me in this moment. This is about people being able to insure their children. And I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this, and I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going on.
And thus it looks like the Democrat Civil War has finally started. And honestly, it was bound to happen sooner or later, folks. For years now, the party has been completely out of step with where its younger radical members wanted to go. You got these activist politicians who've never held a real job in their lives, who've never actually had to earn money outside of politics, living off the largesse of the American system while being gifted health care, cushy salaries, and insider access that's, enriched them further than their wildest dreams. And now the tension is boiling over because the old guard is running out of time, not by choice, but by age and attrition. You've got the Nancy Pelosi's of the world hanging out like Biden and Feinstein, and you've got the Chuck Schumers cracking under the pressure of his own left flank. AOC in this moment slyly undercuts him by inviting Republicans to bypass Schumer altogether and negotiate with her directly. That's not just arrogance, folks. That's an open declaration of war inside the Democrat establishment. And make no mistake, as the Pelosi's and Schumers fade out over the next 5 years, that will be what's left of the Democrat Party. The AOCs, the radical, inexperienced, fundamentally disconnected from American values. That trajectory doesn't just expose the instability inside their coalition, it signals the slow death of a party that once tried to look mainstream, but now can't stop sprinting off the cliff.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
And speaking of Chuck Schumer, this video posted by Donald Trump went viral. Needless to say, the left absolutely melted down over it. A goofy meme with Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero, a fake mustache, and mariachi music paired with Schumer ranting about how Democrats have burned through every demographic except illegal aliens. The point wasn't subtle, okay? And that's exactly why it landed. Democrats have alienated everybody, black voters, Latino voters, working class voters, and they're now clinging to the illegal immigration as their lifeline. The meme stripped away the polished talking points and reduced it to the raw political reality. Democrats are out of ideas, they're out of coalitions, and increasingly out of touch with the very people that they claim to represent. Anyway, needless to say that they took a lot of offense to this, especially Hakeem Jeffries.
Donald Trump posted this AI video featuring myself and Chuck Schumer. It was a fake video.
It's hilarious.
It was a disgusting video.
It's hilarious.
It was a racist video.
It's hilarious.
It was unbecoming of anyone purporting to be the president of the United States of America.
It's hilarious.
But y'all, I ain't scared.
It's hilarious. I don't know what's more hilarious, the meme itself or how Democrats are choosing to react to it. Because, yes, the meme was funny, a sombrero, a mustache, mariachi music. But the real punchline is watching the left melt down like it's the end of democracy. That's the cherry on top, folks. These people should know better than to just take this kind of bait. But instead of shrugging off a joke, Hakeem Jeffries is out here calling it disgusting, racist, fake, unbecoming of a president. And here's the bigger issue. This kind of reaction shows how brittle the Democrats have become. Their entire brand depends on controlling the narrative, on keeping humor and ridicule off limits when it's directed at them. Because mockery punctures the aura of moral superiority they've built in the media, in academia, and in their own style, weird style of politics. When a silly meme can send the House Minority Leader into a day-long tantrum, it exposes not just how thin his skin is, but the fragility of an entire movement that has mistaken being offended for being right.
What does that shameful man do? After a meeting where you're supposed to be working out details, where you're supposed to be negotiating a deal, you post something that draws a sombrero and a mustache on the leader with whom you're supposed to be.
I cannot believe they're actually trying to play political theater over a meme. Seriously, folks, a meme. Who cares? It's supposed to be a dumb below-the-belt joke, nothing more, nothing less. If they just ignored it, it would have just gone away. But the fact that Trump posts a joke and Democrats melt down like this makes the joke even more effective. They don't realize they're branding themselves as the humorless party, the people no one wants to be stuck talking to at any gathering, even in an elevator. They're the Karens, they're the Nancys, the ones who take everything so seriously that they suck the air out of the room. And that's the bigger issue. When a movement can't laugh, they can't brush off satire, it can't deal with even low-level mockery, it reveals how fragile its identity really is. Democrats can posture all they want about being the defenders of democracy, but when they implode over a sombrero filter, they look less like leaders and more like the least fun people of America. People you'd avoid at a party because they make everything miserable. And that, more than the meme itself, tells you why their message keeps just falling flat and the American people just don't care about Democrats anymore.
Mr. President, the next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Say it to my face.
And not only did Donald Trump say it to Hakeem Jeffries' face, he actually laughed in his face. The photos from their meeting show Trump with Trump 2028 hats laid across the Resolute desk, literally pointing and laughing at Jeffries while Schumer sat there helpless. And yet Jeffrey storms out, stands at a podium surrounded by his Democrat friends and pretends he's the tough guy with a moral high ground. It's straight up delusional. The reality is quite the opposite. The picture tells the story of a weak leader who walked into the Oval Office only to get politically castrated by the president. And here's the broader truth. This is the Democrats' entire strategy right now, to posture for the cameras, to project strength in press conferences while folding in the actual arena of power. That's why they rage at memes, why they scream about decorum, because ridicule exposes their fragility. And in a media environment where images and narratives matter more than scripted talking points, Trump's ability to dominate the stage, even with something as simple as a meme or a photo op like this, reveals just how outclassed Democrats like Jeffries have become.
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
Look, I'm just going to say this, folks. Democrats would benefit a little from growing a pair of balls, okay? Stop being so gay. Stop being so anti-white male and male. If they could laugh at themselves once in a while instead of just being straight Karens, maybe they wouldn't come off as the least fun people in the world, clutching their pearls over every meme while wondering why nobody wants to sit at the table with them. But this isn't really just about jokes. It's about control. When you can't laugh, when you demand everyone treat you like royalty while you act like victims, what you're really saying is that dissent and ridicule are off limits. And that's the bigger danger here. A culture that can't handle satires, a culture that can't handle truth, because humor has always been one of the purest ways to expose hypocrisy. So the question is, what kind of country do we want to live in? One where free people can mock their leaders, and even leaders mock their opponents, or one where leaders get to decide which jokes we're all allowed to tell? And I know that's probably going to spark a whole set of conversations in the comments, with people saying, well, what about Kimmel? Well, you tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.